Liam, the questions that we asked on Tuesday, I just wanted to touch on them again after the game against Wickham. And funny enough, myself and Toby were talking in commentary. I don't like to use the word fringe players because you've made it quite clear that everyone is part of your squad, everyone is part of what MK Dons are doing. But it must have been really good to see those players in action, get a feel for some of the players that you haven't seen enough of, that you haven't been able to, in a match situation. That must have been exceptionally useful for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think firstly, I was really pleased. Attitude, application, how they competed. I was really pleased from that perspective. And then, after that, I then thought, especially first half, I thought some really good moments of quality. There's a few individuals that I thought did particularly well. But collectively as a group, when you're being thrown together sometimes like that against a team that does play consistently together, and the quality and the level they have in their squad, I was really pleased. I thought that the goal just before halftime killed us. I thought actually, you come in at 2-1, the lads are on a bit more of a high than what they were, and then managing momentum second half then is completely different to going out at 2-2. So I was really pleased with that. I think obviously it's been difficult in terms of giving people opportunity. I think, because we went on such a good run so early on, even then when, we have a couple of tough games like we had, you have to show an element of trust and, managing, mistakes, managing results, managing, them things are stuff that we don't take lightly. We talk around, how does it impact on people the long term? Obviously, we're a young group and we're still trying to develop players here. So, mistake management then becomes another aspect of it. So I was really pleased, for people to actually push themselves in the right direction of, when an opportunity arises, it's a lot easier to call on people.
And we've had a chat with Tenai today, and it was really interesting. He talked about the culture, the way that things come from you all the way down throughout the squad. And for a player who, has now got very stiff competition in the shape of Peter Kioso where he plays, rather than, throw his toys out of the pram, as it were. He said, he totally understands football and that's the way it is, and he'll just work harder to make sure he's included. And I guess that's music to your ears, isn't it, to hear a player react like that to a situation where he is in competition with another player for a position.
Yeah, and I think ultimately both the players, the culture and the club are the ones that benefit from that. I think, I understand everybody wants to play. I obviously have the hardest decision every week to pick 11 starting players and only make three changes at the weekend. So trust me, I understand sitting here how difficult it is to do that. And, obviously, it's tough to disappoint people, but players can take it one or two ways. They can feel sorry for themselves or they can step up and see the challenge. And that's the one we have to challenge the group with. And I have to say they've responded well to that. They have to stand up, make sure that they control what they can. And that is how they apply themselves, how desperate they are to improve maybe the person, improve and get ahead of the person in front of them. And then that gets them closer to the end goal of what they want. If people go the other way, actually, it takes them further away from, what they're hoping to achieve. So I have to say the group will be needed. I think it's obviously, I'm still only 2 and a bit months into being here. We still have a huge number of games to play this season. I think the difficulty for players at times is to actually think around the medium and long term. It's all around on tomorrow's game. Whereas, I understand and I know that at some times, people will be called upon to step in, and it's then on the guys to make sure that they're ready for that, if they haven't played, that they've still been studying, the game, studying what the role is when they step into the team, what's their job on set pieces, for example, and make sure that they're in the best shape physically to be able to do that. So T's a good example of that, he's got his head down, he's coming in, he's working hard, and, at some point he'll be needed, and I'm pretty sure that when he's called upon, he'll be in the best place possible to step up and deliver.
Do you feel that, with the way results have gone of late, and they're not what you want, clearly, the Wigan game aside, which was a super win, do you think that your early season form has almost made a slight rod for your own back, because it raises expectations, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it was getting that terrible award that I got a little while ago, the curse of it, that people talk around. I think a couple of things. I think we have to step back sometimes and see bigger picture of, the group, the experience we have within the group, people where they're at in their journeys. And I think, results might not have been what we wanted, you also have to reflect on performances. So we spend a huge amount of time, studying the game back, clipping it individually as a team. We spend a large amount of time looking at the stat report, which also gives you sometimes an unbiased opinion and gives you actually cold hard data that you can use to assess the game as well. So I think when you look at it from an emotional perspective, a stat perspective, or rewatching the video and looking at it from all them angles, what it can do is obviously then give you a more accurate picture of the game. And I think when I look at the results that we've had, they might not have been the results we wanted, but the performance hasn't always matched the outcome at the end of the game. Shrewsbury, for example, we were much better at Shrewsbury than we were at Doncaster. We just obviously conceded a really poor goal. That doesn't always tell a true picture of the game. So what I'm pretty sure on is if we keep tweaking them things, it's not like the performance is bad and we won't win games. I think that's the biggest thing for me is it's about learning and getting better to make sure that when we perform like that, we're then clinical, we're then ruthless with it.
And like you said consistently, never too up when you're winning, never too down, when you're losing. In the same way that the fans' expectations will rise when you're doing really well, so will the players, because the players will see what they can achieve. So surely that is then hugely positive in those darker times. You know what I mean by darker times? Those times when the results aren't coming, they can use what they've done before to push themselves forward and get that back. Especially
with such a young group as well. I think when you look at it in the number of games that we've got in players' legs, as I call it, I think what you've got and what we've had so far is a variety of experiences this year that will actually help them for the long term, individually and collectively. So, I'm pretty sure that the first 5-10 minutes we had at Doncaster won't ever happen again. And I think when you've played 200-300 games, at some point you'd have had that in your career where you'd have learnt that. We're still in that stage, I feel, where we're still having some of these experiences that that we're learning from that ultimately don't always go our way, that actually set you up for the long term to be a real strong unit, everybody together. And when we have them moments again that are still fresh for some players, we're in a much better place to be able to deal with that. And I think when you look at there's so many memories this year of like Portsmouth, for example, the cliche game of two halves, like it was, nicking a goal at the end at Cheltenham, where again we're disappointed to draw, but ultimately a point away from home. It's not always a terrible thing. The start at Doncaster, then some of the highs of, Gillingham away, how we win, being with 10 men and how you manage them situations. So I think, both winning games and some of the games we've lost and drawn, I think there's so many experiences that as a collective group, we can take and learn from and actually will help us, be a much more solid unit to actually, win football matches in the future.
And Crewe up next then on the road, and people will look at the table and they'll say, Crewe at bottom, this is going to be one of those games you can go away and win. But, Crewe took Wycombe at Adams Park right to the wire at the weekend. It's cliched. We say it all the time, but there are no easy games in this division.
No, and as you spoke around results, obviously with Shrewsbury and Doncaster, I think, again, great lessons that whoever we're up against, we have to make sure we're at it. We can control the game. That's the biggest thing I want to see tomorrow. I want to see real positive energy from the guys. I want to see us, go out there and dominate with our style, play with an element of confidence and freedom where, they can show what they're good at. And I think when I think back to some of the earlier games, Ipswich away jumps to mind. Portsmouth first half. I think some of the better performances we've had. I felt that from the guys. I felt that real buzz, that real positive energy, and that's in there. I know it's in there with the guys, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. And I really want to see us go out there and try and influence the game by doing what we do best.
Cheers, Liam. Nice one. Thank you very much.
Good.
Having listened to David Artell's pre-match press conference earlier today, it sounded very familiar. It sounded like, he's saying that his side are concentrating on themselves. They're trying to, establish their style of play and trying to, work out what their style means to them. I suppose it makes it an awful lot easier being able to do it from a position where you guys are, further up the table than it does at the bottom, where those results are so imperative for them at the moment.
Yeah, I think that the positions in the table can change so quickly. I don't pay too much attention to it, to be totally honest. Hence, we prepare the same every single game, whether it's the Papa John's Trophy, whether it's a league game against the team that are top, the team that are bottom. For me, I think the second you stop respecting the game and you stop respecting the opponent, you're in trouble. And I think that for me is something that I will definitely do, the staff will definitely do, and the players will definitely do, is go into tomorrow's game with the utmost respect for Crewe, but ultimately understand what it is that we have to do to get success. And like I say, I think we obviously do our work on them. The same point, they can change. We don't know what they're going to do. So again, that's why probably for me, it's around, what can we control? Can we, we can control, our decision making, our problem solving, our attitude, our work rate, how much buzz we have about us, how collective we are, how much we all buy into what we're trying to do. So that for me is the biggest thing for tomorrow.
And away form, obviously it's been, I suppose, a lot better than expected, really, given Don's history of away form down the years. Is there a secret to nailing away form, or is it just trying to approach every game as best you can?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's approaching it, every game the same. We don't massively set up differently, away to home. I think we've spoken a lot around home games and home form and trying to make this a difficult place to come. And I think what we have to create at the club, and what I think is a great challenge for me, the staff and the players, is to create that mentality where teams don't want to play us, where teams are actually, you're going into the game and they're dreading it a little bit in terms of going, crowd, we're going to be in for a tough one today. I think Rotherham do that, to be fair, but I think it's on us now to do it in our way, do it in our style, where teams come up against us and really don't look forward to the game. They know they're going to have to run. They know they're going to be punished if they make mistakes. They know we're going to be difficult to beat. They know we're going to have a scrap and compete when we have to. So as we showed at Wigan, I think that's the challenge, I think, for us as a club to do, to create that real mindset of being difficult to beat. And again, I think that comes, like I say, with sometimes the negative perception that it's around scrapping and second balls and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's a part of it. There's also, the style that we play to can also make you horrible to play against, knowing that, you have to run. And I think that's the challenge for us and the guys.
And you mentioned it a few weeks ago, I think it was at Doncaster, about the momentum that the crowd can have. And switching that away from home is massive, isn't it? Because then all of a sudden, it's not just your fans cheering your side on, it's the home fans giving their own players some stick. Yeah,
again, an experience we've definitely learned from as a group. And again, I think going into the game tomorrow is understanding how do we manage that? How do we actually use it in our favour? How do we shift the momentum? So again, it's not a huge focus. It's not one that we spend loads of time talking about, but it's definitely something to be aware of. How do we get ourselves and on top in the game? And again, that will be on us.